What's up residents, Alistair here, and we have some massive news for everyone hoping to see more MonsterVerse films, as news has just come in that Legendary is in talks to continue the series, and there's even a title for the next potential film, as well as who may very well direct it. More on that in just a second, but don't forget to follow us on Twitter at DangerVille Team, where we post about all the news before we even make a video about it. So join the conversation. Right, let's not waste any more time. Let's get to it! Welcome back. The MonsterVerse has had a tight selection of films, with each having their own unique visions, which span from the fact that each of these films has had their own director which, as fans of the series, have been able to leave their own imprint on the film. Because of this, each film is unique and appeals to a different selection of fans, while using connective tissue to form what we know as the MonsterVerse. It started with Godzilla 2014, directed by Gareth Edwards, which acted as its own standalone film that simply left the door wide open for future sequels to explore. Then there was Kong Skull Island, directed by Jordan Vogt-Roberts, a prequel that set up the character of Kong within the MonsterVerse, set in the 70s, and this is where the MonsterVerse was really able to solidify itself as its own thing, with the ending even hinting at a battle between Godzilla and the other classic monsters. Godzilla King of the Monsters followed through with his promise, directed by Michael Dougherty, delivering an operatic epic of monster destruction, featuring some of the most iconic giant monsters in kaiju history, which famously set forth the inevitable clash between Godzilla and Kong. And finally, we were given that in 2021 by director Adam Wingard. This off-the-wall action blockbuster took things to the next level, delivering the synth fantasy film that would have even made Jules Verne blush. Godzilla vs. Kong left the film in a similar fashion to Godzilla 2014, where the film closes off all the plot points it needs to, letting Godzilla return to the ocean to rest, and also letting Kong find his new home in the Hollow Earth. It works great as not only the end of this saga, but also as a standalone film, although it does still give the studio room to expand and explore the world that they've presented to us, with a whole load of possibilities hidden within the Hollow Earth. Many of you probably expected Godzilla vs. Kong to be the final film, as it's the last in the plan that Legendary set out following Godzilla 2014's release. And since then, many of us have campaigned with the hashtag #ContinueTheMonsterVerse, which Legendary has even noticed. And it might have just worked, because thanks to some news that has just released, Godzilla vs. Kong might not be the end of the series. Coming from The Hollywood Reporter, they have claimed that another MonsterVerse film is currently being discussed with Legendary, the studio that makes the MonsterVerse films. And if you're worried about the source being unreliable, don't fret, The Hollywood Reporter is about as official as you can get. This news has potentially arisen from the fact Godzilla vs. Kong has completely blown all box office expectations out the water, earning over $400 million at the box office, on a budget of around $170 million, which, even outside of a pandemic, is a decent figure. And the film has yet to release in many large countries like the UK, Brazil, and Japan, so expect that number to continue to climb. This makes Godzilla vs. Kong the highest grossing film since the pandemic began, and has sparked hope within Legendary that the MonsterVerse can continue to make money following the disappointing box office results from Godzilla King of the Monsters. Although I'm pretty certain that Legendary recognizes the hardships of releasing Godzilla King of the Monsters during that busy summer season, and that if it was released in a less busy time, it would have earned much more, considering it went up against Aladdin, The Lion King, Avengers Endgame, Detective Pikachu, X-Men Toy Story 4, Secret Life of Pets, and the biggest film of all, Velocipasta.
Adeline!
James!
Adeline!
James!
I'd say it did better than it should have. But what film has Legendary been thinking of? Well, The Hollywood Reporter states the current title floating around the studio is Son of Kong, which may not end up being the final title, but the concept is fairly self-explanatory and acts as a basis for where their heads are at. Unlike the 1933 film Son of Kong, which features a lone offspring to King Kong, the MonsterVerse entry would likely be about the Kong we've followed through the MonsterVerse finding his family, as what was hinted towards with Gia telling him his family could be down there. I think there's lots of potential with this concept, as there could be a lot of emotional depth towards Kong finding members of his species, and if Gia was to star in it, we could see more of their bond explored, which was easily one of the best aspects to Godzilla vs. Kong. But the film could not only focus on Kong finding his home and his kind, it could also be about Gia uncovering her culture's history, since the Iwis were unfortunately wiped from Skull Island due to the storm engulfing the land. But the MonsterVerse has hinted that the Iwis actually came from the Hollow Earth, so maybe there's even Iwi descendants living and even thriving there that would accept Gia as well as Kong. That direction makes the most amount of sense to me, although the name Son of Kong doesn't really catch most people's imaginations. Something like Kong Hollow Earth would make more sense, considering that we'd be exploring the Hollow Earth, and it would mirror the naming of Kong Skull Island. But bear in mind, this is simply a title that's been floating around the studio, and the film might not end up going with this and could go with something completely different. But who would they get to direct this film? Well, thankfully that is also mentioned in the article. Legendary has been negotiating with the Godzilla vs. Kong director, Adam Wingard, to return for the 5th entry in the MonsterVerse. Adam Wingard did a great job with Godzilla vs. Kong in my opinion, and the critics also liked it, as it was a refreshing return to blockbusters that provided catharsis following such a stressful year. It does make sense that Legendary would want him to return, as it feels like Adam has finally found a foothold for the series tonally going forward, throwing logic out the window and putting fun first. This would be the first time in the series that a director has reprised his role for a second time, which has its pros and cons. The chances are it'll tonally be similar to Godzilla vs. Kong, which is good for consistency's sake, but many enjoy the fact that each film offers something unique, allowing each film to truly stand out. But what do you think? Are you happy that Adam Wingard is likely to return, or would you like to see someone new? And if it was to be someone new, who would you choose? Let us know in the comment section down below. I'd personally prefer another standalone Godzilla film, but it only makes sense to explore the Hollow Earth and uncover all its secrets, as well as develop Kong and Gia's bond, and find out what monsters have been hiding beneath the surface for millions of years. Maybe we'll see more classic monsters like Gorosaurus, Baragon, or hell, even Gigan. The possibilities are endless. In my opinion, the best route would be to follow Kong for a few movies, but hint towards something happening. Something big that could wipe out all life on this planet, and that Godzilla may rise again in the future to stop it. Similar to how Thanos' arrival was painstakingly built up over several years, Godzilla's resurface could be the endgame. This would mean that Godzilla's return would be an event and not just an expected part of the series. However they do it, I just want them to reference him from time to time, just so his presence is still felt, even when he's not in the movie. But whichever direction they go, we'll be right here making videos about it. So subscribe and stomp that notification button to become a resident of DangerVille today. I feel like things are only going to get bigger. If you like this news, then hit that upvote button because it helps this video reach even more fans. I've been Alistair from DangerVille, and we'll see you residents in the next one.